Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Surrey Being Hunted. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 18th of August as of when I record this. Yes, I'm going to date the video right away. However, by the time this video actually goes out on the channel, it'll be more like August 29th-ish, somewhere around there I do think. It'll be late August, whatever the date is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not exactly sure which one, but it'll be late. But basically, I just, thought I wanted to record a Surrey Being Hunted episode today because just this morning I got back after spending 2 weeks with my friends and family up north in England, visiting them during my summer break period from work. And technically my summer leave period isn't actually formally over yet. There's still a few more days and all that. So I'm going to be recording lots of videos, just to make sure that the channel has plenty of content to keep it tiding over in the meantime, including a bit of Sir and all that, because, holy shit, have I got topics I want to talk about that I could do some podcast-style episodes on and all that. Because the thing is, obviously, the stuff that I've been doing during the 2 weeks that I was up visiting friends and family, which I could talk about. And, of course, there's other stuff that's been going on around about the same time that's also worth having a chatter about as well, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, for this one, though, for this episode, though, we're going to focus a little bit on stuff I've been doing during my time sort of back up north. In fact, not just this episode, but also in the next one as well, because the thing is, some of my family, we did some really notable things whilst I was back visiting the north of England, visited some interesting places, because that's, what we always try and do whenever I go back up to visit them. We always try and, maybe go out for a good walk somewhere nice, maybe go visit somewhere interesting, something like that. And, this visit was no exception. So there's a couple of things in particular that really sort of stood out, and I'll cover the second one actually in the next episode, but one of them I'll talk about in this one. But before I get to that, I'll sort of summarise some of the, the more kind of general stuff that I was doing over the summer. So, whenever I visit back up north, I always kind of have my old favourites that I like to do, places that I like to go. Clitheroe, for instance. I always talk about Clitheroe, town in East Lancashire. Historic, has a castle, as well as, obviously, I think I've mentioned it before, the Bowland Brewery, which is basically, big, old, sort of brewing factory, which now is basically a very artisan shop, restaurant, and still has a brewery actually in it. But a fascinating place to go. So I went to Clitheroe, went for a good wander up the hill to the castle, had a good time there. I've probably been saying it for a while now, but with Clitheroe, I really need to visit the Castle Museum again, because I'm pretty certain that the Castle Museum at Clitheroe is free admission. You don't need to pay. But then again, I don't know. I don't know if my memory's serving me correctly there. It could be that maybe it was free admission years ago, but for all I know, things may very well have changed quite considerably since then, to put it that way. So it may or it may not be the case. I don't know. I'll just have to... Well, I suppose I could Google it, and that way I could probably find out, but, that would require me to actually have to... Well, Jesus, tab out during this video. Sorry, I just threw the camera around without meaning to. Wait, go over there. That's where I want you to be. Off in that direction. But yeah, I'm not going to rabbit on about Clitheroe too much, because I've talked about it a million and one times before during my Surrey Being Hunted playthrough and all that. But no, there was other stuff that I always kind of enjoy doing when I'm back up north. Visiting Lancaster, going into the town, just having a coffee out, browsing the shops, things like that. I always sort of go to HMV and Waterstones. Waterstones usually so I can go into the manga section and into other sections as well, just to see if there's any good literature that looks interesting. And I did buy a couple of books. The thing is, Waterstones in Lancaster actually has a decent manga section, unlike a lot of other Waterstones branches that I've been in. But, yeah, so I always, whenever I'm visiting up north, I always like to go into the manga section in Waterstones in Lancaster, have a browse in there, see what there is, see if there's anything that takes my fancy. There wasn't this time, but I did get a couple of books from other sections, from the general fiction and from the sci-fi sections. So I've got a bit of reading material, that's good. So we went up to Lancaster for a morning out, that was nice. Other stuff we did. Have I ever mentioned a place called Barton Grange before in my Surrey Being Hunted series? Basically, in case I haven't, I probably have talked about it before, but if you don't know, basically in sort of the region where I used to live, back up north, there's a town called Billsborough, and on one side of it there's this really sort of kind of artisan, sort of expensive, well-to-do garden centre called Barton Grange. It actually has two sections to its site. There's Barton Grange itself, which is the main sort of garden centre, restaurant, cafe, sort of gift shop, and farm shop and cooking shop section. That's all the bits that it has in it. And then there's this other section to it across the way that's called the Flower Bowl, which is sort of like, basically it's a family entertainment centre. And it's actually really awesome, actually, to be inside. I've been in once or twice just to sit down and have a coffee there. But it basically has like a fish and chip restaurant. It has crazy golf. There's a bowling alley, not a huge one. It has a few lanes. There's even a curling rink. There's like a sort of golf simulator thing in there. There's even like a weird sort of VR attraction in it. But yeah, it's a family entertainment centre, and it's quite something. It's quite a nice little place. I suppose a lot of stuff in it you have to book, obviously. There's also a cinema. I think that I don't know how many screens it has, maybe just the one. And obviously it's not a very big cinema, so ticket prices are kind of expensive. But, if you're ever in the sort of Lancashire region, particularly West Lancashire, close to the town of Billsborough, worth a visit. If you love sort of garden centre, sort of artisan, gift shop kind of locations, it's nice. It is what it is. It's expensive though, but it's a business that sells a lot of artisan products and things like that, so naturally, it's not going to be cheap. But so we obviously went over there. That was good. Another place we went to was a place called Ashton Garden Centre, which is sort of not far from Lancaster. In fact, it's fairly close. It's sort of on one of the roads just out of Lancaster, getting towards a place called Conda Green, which is a small sort of village town in Lancashire, West Lancashire, which is near the crossroads towards Glasson Dock and up that way. I'm saying all these names of places that probably mean very little to anyone who hasn't been to that region, but yeah, I'm sure you can get Google Maps up, you can search for some of these names. But yeah, Ashton Garden Centre, again, big sort of artisan sort of garden centre, gift shop, cafe, restaurant sort of place. Nice for a morning out. Basically, we went out, had lunch there, had a very nice corned beef hash. Very, sounds like doesn't sound like a particularly appetising dish, but actually it's very nice. Corned beef hash comes with a little sort of dish with garden peas and another little dish with some slices of beetroot in it. It's lovely. Me and Phil should probably go up there sometime, have a lunch out, something like that. Because I could always, hop in my car when I'm visiting back up north. He can sit in the passenger seat and I can just drive him up there, because it's a nicer place. You just want a morning out, sit down in the cafe, have a hot drink, maybe a snack to eat or something. So yeah, there's basically there's things that I always enjoy doing, basically, whenever I go back up north, and those ones that I've just outlined there are very much kind of the bog standard things that I enjoy doing, because I can be a bit of a creature of habit, basically, which I think is generally something you find as you get older and older anyway. Sorry, my voice just broke then. Thing is, I've been recording a lot of videos before this one. I've been recording it Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition, the first 4 episodes of that. I've been really enjoying it. So yes, apologies if my voice is a bit croaky and breaks from time to time. But yeah, getting back to the topic at hand. So that's obviously all the stuff that I always like to do whenever I'm back up north. But one of the big things that we decided to do, something really interesting, we went. When I say we, I mean me and my old folks. Basically, hopped in the car and we drove up to Arnside, which is basically a small village on the edge of Morecambe Bay, kind of towards its northern edge. And it's a really lovely place. You can sort of go for a walk down the waterfront, along the sands, because it's basically sort of intertidal sands is what it is, and it's on a nice sort of blue bright summer's day, it's a very nice place to go, very picturesque. And so we went for a walk over there, and it was a gorgeous day, it was gorgeous weather, it was just all round very nice, and it's one of those kind of locations that I think is well worth a visit if you're ever in that region of the country. Though it being Morecambe Bay and that sort of area, you do have to be a bit careful if you go wandering out on the sands, because whilst we were there, we were sort of walking down the waterfront when we noticed that there was a Coast Guard van pulled up, And then a few seconds later there was a fire engine that came blaring down the street, sirens going, and we sort of looked out across the waterfront onto the sands, and we did notice that there was a bunch of Coast Guard personnel with this woman sat down. Basically, probably someone who had wandered too far out into the sands and got into difficulty, because that's the problem with Morecambe Bay. It's intertidal sand, so you shouldn't ever go too far out. You should always be careful, because if you start to feel like the sand underfoot is getting a bit springy and spongy, then you need to basically back up towards the promenade, back onto solid ground quickly. Because that's the thing, it's basically quicksand, is what it is. You can easily get stuck in it. Because the thing is, I think pretty much every year, or most years, there's always emergency call-outs to the fire service and the Coast Guard, because there's somebody who goes too far out on the sounds of Morecambe Bay and gets stuck, and so has to call the emergency services. The thing is, like, in most cases, it probably ends fine. The person is probably rescued and, nothing bad happens. But you do sometimes hear of ones where it ends disastrously, because obviously the danger is you get stuck in the sand and then the tide comes in. And obviously, you get cut off, and then basically you get swamped and you drown. I mean, one of the most sort of infamous cases from the Morecambe Bay area was back in, I think, 2004-ish? Was it 2004? I probably need to Google that. But, no, back in 2004 there was a incident. There was like a bunch of Chinese immigrant workers who were sort of out picking cockles in the bay. When they basically ran into difficulties, they got stuck on the sands as the tide came in, and yeah, they basically all drowned. A real tragedy. But yes, it's kind of a warning really about how dangerous the sands actually are if you go too far out. Thing is though, there are like guides who basically made a living out of sort of pathing and determining safe routes to actually walk across the bay, and you can sort of go on basically guided walks with them, where you can walk right across the bay during low tide, and the guides will show you the safe route. They'll lead you, and you basically just follow in their footsteps, and it's entirely fine. But no, Morecambe Bay is an area that one should be very cautious with. But basically, getting back to Arnside, so Arnside was very picturesque. The weather was lovely. It was not too hot. It was just nice and warm, and there was just a nice cool breeze coming down sort of the intertidal estuarine waters, and it was just the right temperature, just the right weather. And then afterwards, once we'd been for our sort of walk, my parents showed me that there's this little sort of chippy down one of the little alleys in the village itself, and we basically got some fish and chips, sat in the car, and had them. And it was delicious, ladies and gentlemen. We parked up on the waterfront further down the road towards Sandside, and it was really nice, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, speaking of Sandside, which is an area very close to where Arnside is, I think one of my past Surrey Being Hunted episodes actually has as its thumbnail a screenshot that I took from Google Maps of that sort of location. I think the title of the video, something Steps of Storth, possibly? Fairy Steps of Storth, was that the title of the video? I can't remember. I'm sure if you search back through my Surrey Being Hunted playlist, you'll probably find it. But yeah, that's a good screenshot. It gives you an idea of what it looks like. But the thing is, I did take a few quick sort of videos on my phone, just of the area. So if I remember, I might see if I can flash them up on the screen, maybe around about now. You can actually see for yourself how picturesque it actually is. Just, nothing majorly special, but it is what it is, and it's very nice. So like I say, if you're ever in that sort of region of the country, Arnside, nice place to go and visit, ladies and gentlemen. So that was the main one I actually wanted to talk about in this episode, and looking at time, that's probably taken me to a decent point, hasn't it? Maybe 10 or 15 minutes in terms of that episode length. That's fine. So yeah, Arnside was great. And of course, as another actual question, since I'm talking about the topic of what I was doing over summer, in case anyone's curious, yes, Steam Summer Sale. I bought a lot of games. I bought the Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition, which obviously, episodes of that are now coming out on the channel. I also bought the remastered Fate Stay Night, classic visual novel that everybody sort of raves about. So that might be something you see on the channel. Maybe it's a bit of bonus content from time to time, alongside Danganronpa S as I continue on with that. And there's a variety of other smaller indie games that I bought, particularly indie horrors, which are now in my Steam library and are potential things that I would probably play at some point. Who knows? We'll see. So yeah, plenty of good content for the channel. But, thing is, prior to starting Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition as a series on channel, I was doing a lot of horror, but I kind of want to move away from horror now for a little bit and play some other games, especially maybe some older games. Obviously, Beyond Good and Evil Anniversary Edition, the 2024 remaster of the original, is on the cards at the moment, but there are other things which I kind of want to have a look at as well once I've done that. So yeah, you've got a lot to look forward to in the sort of second half-ish rather, of 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll wrap this episode up here, because I think that was a good little podcasty episode right there. Join me for the next part, which I might get recording straight away, where I'm going to be talking about something else that me and my old folks did whilst I was visiting back up north. Something really interesting, which you might find quite awesome to listen to. And yeah, so join me for that. Facebook and Twitter links and my propagandist channel link are over in the video description down below. You can check them out if you want to. And other than that, yeah, see you next time. Goodbye, everybody. I think I've backtracked a bit, so that's right. Yes, no, dude. I don't like the feel of the torch. That means yes. So yeah. Stop that. Okay, this is tense, but it's not as creepy as I remember it being back in the day when I was on the pages. That's just me. But the way his mechanics work is you do have to sometimes look at it just to keep him locked in place, but you can't look for too long. I've got a bit here. Right. Just put a glow stick there to say I went that way last time, didn't I? Let's go this way. Is that a note? Oh, that's not a note. Okay.